Welcome to the Max and Drew Show. I'm Max Holtzclaw.
And I am the Drew White.
And we're going to be here talking to you today about the NBA, a little bit of an NBA preview show, even though we're well into the season, a little over a week now. And a couple of teams have had about 5 games in. I know the Pacers have, along with some other teams. But we're just going to jump right into it. So first off, we're going to go to the Eastern Conference, the Central Division this time. And in that division, we have the Indiana Pacers, the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Detroit Pistons, the Milwaukee Bucks, and the Chicago Bulls. And that is one of the toughest divisions in the entire NBA.
Yes, the Indiana Pacers coming off an Eastern Conference Finals appearance, almost beating Miami in 7 games. And that series could have turned out completely different if they ended up winning Game 1, if Frank Vogel didn't take Roy Hibbert out, which let LeBron James. But we all know what happened. It wasn't really a Bono mistake. It was just a game plan that didn't work out. That happens sometimes. We have the returning Derrick Rose from the Chicago Bulls. He's been a little bit slow to start, but that should be expected. A little bit of rust on him. He hasn't played in an actual NBA game in a year and a half. You shouldn't be expecting a lot out of him, at least not until closer to March or April. Then you have Milwaukee, a team that's not going to do too well this year. They lost Brandon Jennings and Monte Ellis. They got Brandon Knight out of that sign-and trade they did with Detroit. I mean, you might as well get something out of it if you're going to try to get anything. And then, they had injury prones. Silva's out. Larry Sanders busting. He's in trouble. He's busting champagne bottles over people's heads, so he's out. Yeah, it's just not a good time to be a Milwaukee Bucks fan.
They do have O.J. Mayo.
They do have O.J. Mayo.
And that's the one bright side I really got to say in that whole Milwaukee organization. Yeah. You can make a case for Ilyasova.
Oh, yeah, I can make a case for Ilyasova.
He's injury prone.
And issue. He can't play defense as well. He sucks at defense. I know this personally. He sucks at defense.
And then also in that division, you have the Cleveland Cavaliers coming off that first round pick, Anthony Bennett. It was only made 1 field goal the entire season.
He made a field goal last night?
He made a field goal last night.
Oh man, the drought is over.
It's about time. Yeah.
It's about time. He's gonna get started now, boys.
But in this division, I really got to say, I like the Indiana Pacers. They're coming off that 5-0 start.
Yes.
This isn't just biased because we're Pacers fans, but they are the top team in that division and right up there in the top 2 in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah. The Bulls, Detroit, they have a possibility of making the playoffs. I think they have a good enough team to. It's just that they're one of those lower tier teams that you don't expect too much out of. But the Bulls just have too many questions. How is Derrick Rose going to mesh with this team that was a 4th or 5th seed last year in the playoffs? They did pretty well without him. They weren't a championship contender like they were before Derrick Rose was out, but they still did very well without him. Luol Deng and Joakim Noah stepped up in that spot. How is Derrick Rose going to affect them? That's the real question. And the Cavaliers, they still have too many pieces they got to worry about. They got Andrew Bynum now, who
he is back somewhat.
He played 7 minutes.
Yeah, he's getting up there.
He's getting up there.
But Varejão's still probably the top option.
Yeah.
With that, Kyrie, of course, doing well. I will say Deion Waiters can be a bit of a ball hog. Likes to shoot the ball a lot.
It's kind of like Lance Stevenson.
Right.
What I noticed last night when the Pacers played the Bulls, Lance Stevenson ain't afraid to shoot the ball if he's in the slump.
Yeah, he shot about
6
for 20 last night.
No, it wasn't even that. I don't think he made. He just made he made 5 for 16, I believe. I believe that was his final stat line. It was something like that. He made 3 3-pointers.
Yeah, thank God. When I first saw, he was 3 for 6 from the 3 for 13 total.
Yeah, I know. So his first 3 shots he made.
I know he made a layup and then a dunk later on.
Yeah, so I think that was the 5 buckets he made.
Right. So then in this division, I'd rank Pacers, and then the Bulls. And then I'd probably have to go Cleveland, Detroit, and then Milwaukee.
Yeah, I'm not going to mess with you with that one. I think you got a spot on there. That it's a bit tougher to try to figure out. But Milwaukee's an easy. Yeah. They are in the sweepstakes for a top 5 pick next year.
Yeah, it's pretty much these top 4 are right here. Maybe Detroit's kind of right here, a little bit below everyone, and then Milwaukee's way down here.
Yes.
So moving on from there, we have the Southeast Division, the Miami Heat, the Atlanta Hawks, Charlotte Bobcats, Washington Wizards, Orlando Magic, and really The only threat in that division is the Miami Heat. I would give a little bit of credit to the Wizards, and maybe the Magic or the Hawks could take a little bit.
Yeah, the Magic and the Washington, they're both in a rebuilding process, and they've been doing very good. John Wall, after coming off his knee procedure he had during the offseason last year, he didn't play he was on a fantasy team. He didn't start playing until at least January, but he took him a couple months to get back. But when he was finally back in late March and April, when I really needed him, he was averaging 24 points a game and close to 10 assists. He did show last year that he can play at a top elite level. And thus far this year, he's averaging close to 20 points, 8 assists a game. So I kind of expect him to maybe get an All-Star appearance this year.
I would hope so.
I hope so, because he's one of my favorite players. He got that max deal. Let's see if he's worth it. He's a bit of an injury-prone guy, and his jump shot's a bit fluky. But they got Bradley Beal now. They've had him. He's a work in progress, but last year he showed that he can be a very good shooting guard in the NBA, and this could be his breakout year. Trevor Ariza, not much you can say about him, but he's
doing well right now.
He's doing very well. They also got Otto Porter, who they drafted this year. A very good draft pick in my opinion. They needed a small forward. Right. I would have chosen that. Or maybe one of the bigger men, but the problem is there's no guarantee that any of the big men will do well in the NBA. Alex Len, in particular, he's a bit of work. Noel, he's injured.
He's out for the season because he's got the ACL procedure.
Yeah, so it's kind of a thing where you don't know how anyone else is going to turn, so you just go with Otto Porter, who would be the smart pick.
I would have recommended probably him going before Anthony Bennett, probably at number 1.
Yeah. No one expected Anthony Bennett going to number 1.
Yeah.
That was kind of, it's Noel, maybe Victor Oladipo. Before...
They even threw in Alex Len. I heard his name in there.
He was in there. Cody Zeller's name was in there, surprisingly. A lot of names in that top spot. But, they surprised us all. And they got a power forward when I would have probably taken a small forward if I was them. Because I think that's just one issue now.
And then after that, I would say you got the Atlanta Hawks there. And they have Horford and Millsap, who are very good players. They have Lou Williams and Jeff Teague. But I would not trust my team with Jeff Teague leading the helm.
Yeah, they got a good 5-4 spots. Very good. Al Horford has been an all-star. Paul Millsap, I believe he's at his prime right now. In a couple of years, he's going to start declining his game. So, it's weird. I don't understand why he went to the Hawks. The Hawks are in a position to win a championship, especially right now. Maybe they think they could get a good pick, maybe like a 7th or 8th pick, and they could work with what they get from there. But that is a weird situation in Atlanta. They're not going to do too well this year. They can maybe get a playoff appearance, but I don't think they will. That division is pretty much the Miami Heat, and then the rest, pretty much.
Right. I mean, you can't say much. It's the Miami Heat. We're not going to talk about them. We're not going to boost them up because you know what you're expecting from them. The Charlotte Bobcats, you know what you're going to get from them. You have Jefferson, who's injured, so you can't really say how their team's going to really look like this year because he hasn't played a game with them yet. And then Zeller just got drafted, but he's not even starting yet.
Yeah, so it's just a bit of what's going to happen in a couple years. I believe every year for them is a rebuilding year, unfortunately. So hopefully, eventually, they can maybe get a decent team into the playoffs.
So our projection for this division is Miami at the top. I would probably then put Washington after them.
Yes.
And then Atlanta over Orlando, surprisingly, which that might switch. I will second guess myself on that. But then Orlando, then Charlotte. Yeah,
Charlotte's the bottom team. I don't know. See, this division's a little bit more difficult. It depends on what you expect out of the Hawks and Washington, and maybe Orlando, because Orlando has been doing very well at the start of the year as well. But I'm going to go Miami, Washington, Orlando. Miami, Washington, Atlanta, Orlando, and then Charlotte, the same as you got.
Alright, let's move on to the final division in the East, the Atlantic Division, with the Boston Celtics, the Brooklyn Nets, the New York Knicks, the Philadelphia 76ers, and the Toronto Raptors. And this division is basically the two New York teams for the taking. They just have to fight against each other, and that'll really say who's the top dogs in that division.
This is the first time in a while that both New York teams have a really good team.
Mm-hmm.
Both of these teams could have a shot at making it to the NBA Finals, but it's a bit of
a stretch.
It's a bit of a stretch. They need to play fantastic against either the Pacers or the Heat, depending on how the seeding works out. But it just, they could maybe make it depending on how the obstacles ahead of them look. Brooklyn, they just need to rest their starters in the regular season. They do that with Kevin Garnett already.
They need to take a Greg Popovich approach with this one.
Yeah, they really need to. They got Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, Jason Terry, 3 guys they got from a blockbuster trade from Boston, and also in their division. A little bit of surprise there. The Celtics are nothing this year. This is a rebuilding year for them. And then you have Toronto, a very good team. They got Rudy Gay, that's your man. A good young center, and Jonas he's a bit of what do you want from him. He could do very good, but at the same time, it could be a couple years before he gets into a very good spot. From Lithuania, by the way, which apparently brings a lot of good big men to the NBA from what I've noticed in the past few years. And then you have the 76ers.
Just step below everyone else.
Yeah, step below. Good start to them, but I don't think they'll be able to keep it up.
And then I also got to say, along with Toronto, is that you have Kyle Lowry leading the charge there, and he is a very good point guard. He can help that team out a lot. Alongside him, you got Rudy Gay at the 3, who's a proven scorer. You know what you're going to get from him night in, night out. A weak spot at the 4, because you can either put Johnson or Hansbrough starting there each night, really, but they're not going to produce what you really want. And then you have DeMar DeRozan, who could be a star in the NBA if he can get his jump shot down a little bit more.
Yes.
He's an athletic.
Yes, and like you said, their only real need right now is a 4-spot player because, Tyler Hansbrough, I know for certain I would never have Tyler Hansbrough in my starting lineup. And Amir Johnson, he's okay, but, you need to be a playoff contender, you need good big men, and that's something they lack. Unless you have LeBron James, then, it doesn't really matter what you have.
Then you play small ball.
Yeah, then you play small ball, because he's their power forward most of the time.
So then, in this division, I would rank them New York at the top, followed by Brooklyn, then Toronto, then Boston, then Philadelphia.
Yeah, and I'm going to go no changes with that. I'm going to completely agree with you. We didn't talk about the Knicks very much, but
you know what you're getting.
You know what you're getting with them. A very good shooting team, a little bit of defense, not too much, but a little bit of defense. Tyson Chandler's now out, especially, so you don't know what we're going to expect from him defensively. But we'll see how that plays out as the year goes on.
So let's move on to the Western Conference now. We're going to go to the Southwest Division, which has teams like the Dallas Mavericks, the Houston Rockets, the Memphis Grizzlies, the New Orleans Pelicans, and the San Antonio Spurs. And I really believe this is the toughest division in the entire NBA because any one of those teams has a chance of making the playoffs this year. Especially, I believe, leading the charge would be the San Antonio Spurs coming off that NBA Finals appearance. Still have their main core, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, Tim Duncan, Kawhi Leonard stepping up big. They did lose DeJuan Blair, but that's not a huge loss. They just put in Tiago Splitter at the 5. And then, of course, you have the best coach in the NBA, in my opinion, Greg Popovich.
Yeah, no question about this. They could easily be the favorites to win the West again as long as they stay healthy. They have one of the oldest teams in the NBA. Tim Duncan apparently takes a step in the fountain of youth every year because he plays as if he's still an all-star and one of the best centers in the NBA.
He has had some health issues this year.
Yeah, so he got injured one game, then he sat out the next game, but he's played the past 2 games, I believe, and he's been doing fine ever since. So pretty much in San Antonio's case, it's just a matter of them staying healthy. Also, they have one of the best 3-point shooters in the NBA, Danny Green.
Oh my God.
Mr. Rainmaker, apparently.
They lost the other Splash brother, Gary Neal, to Milwaukee.
Ah, darn, but oh well. All they need is one. They don't need Luigi.
And then I would say also you have the Houston Rockets and Memphis Grizzlies, who are both, I would usually say, both right next to each other, except Memphis is kind of slacking this year. Houston did get Dwight Howard. They have Omar Sheik, who is a very underrated player.
Yeah, he's, in my opinion, one of the most underrated players in the NBA.
You have James Harden, Chandler Parsons, who's a very good young player, will be probably, I would like to say, an all-star in the future sometime. And also Patrick Beverly and Jeremy Lin splitting off time at point guard. And they're both good players. I'd probably go with Beverly over Lynn. I know you love Lynn.
I know.
But
I know.
I don't know. And then also in Memphis, you have Mike Conley, Indiana native, who's leading the charge there. He's a very good player. I'd say an all-star, but that's a little bit biased there.
Yeah.
Also, you have an Indiana native, Zebo, Zach Randolph there. Very good players. David West-like.
Yes, very
like
David
that.
West-like.
Step back or the fade away from the outside or around the perimeter. And then you have Marc Gasol, who's also got a nice deep shot that he can hit. Also got the great post game.
Also the reigning defensive player of the year. Memphis is a lot like the Indiana Pacers from the standpoint defensive first, and then you score. They had the second best defense behind the Pacers, and the big question was who would have the better defense out of both of them. And to me, I'm a little surprised that Marc Gasol ended up winning Defensive Player of the Year, even though he wasn't on the best defense. I think that truly should have gone either Paul George or maybe Roy Hibbert. That's just my opinion. It might sound biased because I'm from Indiana and so are you, but those are just facts. Indiana had an elite defense last year, one of the best defenses in the past 20-25 years.
And then also, Tony Allen in Memphis is a great defender.
Yeah,
you cannot. If you have to go against him, it's just terrible.
So pretty much with Lance Stevenson plays, and we should expect 3 for 50 shooting. So I just want to say something really quickly. Houston has, like you said, they picked up Dwight Howard, the best center in the NBA, without a question. At least the best center from right under the basket. That's where he does the majority of his shooting from.
Yeah, he can't shoot.
Yeah, he can't shoot.
He can't shoot outside of 5 feet.
Yeah, apparently when he was growing up, they just told him to stand under the basket and not practice anywhere else. Obviously, but look at his free throw. But it's a very good signing for Houston. They got James Harden. Like you said, Jeremy Lin, Patrick Beverly. Jeremy Lin is very good in the pick and roll style of offense. So Dwight Howard is a pick and roll player, so that could work out very well if they decide to go with that route. Right now, I believe they're splitting that starting role between Jeremy Lin and Patrick Beverly. It's a bit of a toss-up. But if Jeremy Lin doesn't end up starting there by like halfway through the year, they need to get rid of him because his contract is not worth like the 13-something million they're going to be paying him next year if he's still there.
And there would definitely be some takers I know who would want him a proven scorer on their team.
Yes, a proven scorer as with Linsanity from a couple years ago. He has proven he could be the scorer. So, and then also when you look at Memphis, I said it earlier, one of the best defenses in the NBA. They don't have Rudy Gay anymore. They got Tyshawn Prince, a very good defender and a very good team player. He's proven that from all of his years in Detroit. But the question is, will they be able to score enough to make it far into the playoffs? Because they proved last year they could make it to the Western Conference Finals on defensive alone. But when they went up with a team that's as good defensively as they are offensively in the Spurs, they could not handle it with them, and I believe they got swept. Isn't that correct?
I don't want to talk about that.
Okay, so they did get swept. So pretty much, the question is, can they take a step up and become a better team this year? And then last but not least, there's 2 teams left, actually.
We have the New Orleans Pelicans.
The Hornets, as I call them.
The Pelicans.
Okay.
Who's got Drew Holiday coming in from that trade for Nerlens Noel.
It's not me, not Drew White. It's Drew Holiday. There we go.
We got Drew Holiday came in from that Nerlens Noel trade on draft day, and then also the Pelicans also picked up Tyreek Evans coming in as a 6-man role, which is a little iffy, not really his style, but I mean it's not really working out for him either. He's not having a very good year. Also, you have Anthony Davis, Aminu is a great defender, but they're lacking that center position. They have Jason Smith starting. Also, Indiana native Eric Gordon is there. Go Hoosiers.
Hoosiers. Eric Gordon could be fantastic. He could be an all-star player if he decides not to get injured for once in a blue moon. And that's the big thing that's been hobbling over him for the past couple of years. Thankfully, thus far, he's having one of his better.
He's having a great
He's having a great year. One of his better careers. The best season he's had since he was in LA, at least with the Clippers. So hopefully they get some good out of this, because this is a very young team, a team they can build upon. Because Eric Gordon wanted to get out there a couple years ago, because he signed when he was a restricted free agent, he signed with the Suns, but the Pelicans or the Hornets at the time, they maxed that contract that he signed. So maybe with all this young talent, they can convince him to stay if he chooses to leave when his contract runs out.
And finally, in that division, they have the Dallas Mavericks, which it's down from years past, but I would still make a case that they're a very good team.
Very good team.
Very good team, especially since they picked up Monte Ellis over the offseason.
Yeah, see, that was kind of a thing. Technically, I guess Dallas and Milwaukee just traded shooting guards they had from the previous year. They went from Monte Ellis on the Bucks to the O.J. Mayo, and then vice versa.
It basically looked like a trade there.
It was pretty much a trade. So it was just pretty much with Monte Ellis, you just get more shooting, while Monte Ellis is
probably a more efficient scorer.
A more efficient scorer. Monte Ellis, he's a good. I mean, O.J. Mayo, who was a good scorer and a little bit better of a defender. Monte Ellis is strictly an offensive player. And the thing with Dallas is the past 2 years they've been trying to get that big name to come to them, but unfortunately they haven't yet been able to get that big name player. So maybe this coming off season, LeBron James.
Right. He's going to go to Dallas. I mean, they were trying to get Darren Williams 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, they're going to try to get Darren Williams last year. They tried to get They tried to get Dwight Howard this past year. It hasn't been able to work, so they've been having to sign these good guys, not great guys, good guys, these one-year deals in hopes that they could try to get one of these bigger name players the next year. Which, it could work, but eventually it's going to run out. Dirk, he's been having a great year so far, coming off of his surgery he had last year. He had an okay year, but, that injury he had obviously was hobbling him a bit as he was trying to recover from it. He was doing very well at the end of the year. Dallas barely missed out of the playoffs.
Right.
So the real question is, are they playoff contenders this year? And we will see later this year. So Max, give us your projection of that division.
My projection for the Southwest Division will be the San Antonio Spurs at the top spot. It's going to be tough to dethrone them after last season and bring back all the key pieces. After that, I do have the Houston Rockets, actually. That's a lie over here. This lie.
Oh, okay. I wasn't even looking at that one.
But actually, I do have the Houston Rockets over the Memphis Grizzlies. Houston, I just recently changed this. Houston has been making a better case for that, especially since they're 4-1 last I saw. And that could very well change to either 5-1 or 4-2, I believe, tonight or tomorrow night. But they're just a great team, especially with Dwight Howard and James Harden out there leading the charge. Also, behind them, I have the Memphis Grizzlies because defense wins games, but you're not going to get past. They probably won't get past the first round because you got to score to win championships, to win more games, I guess.
Yeah.
So I contradicted myself. But
oh gosh, okay.
Give me a break here. After that, I do have the New Orleans Pelicans, and they're going to be a tough team. They could possibly make the playoffs, but they're a bubble team. And after that, I have the Dallas Mavericks, who could make a surprising case. But they just don't have any bench production besides for Vince Carter, I believe.
Yeah.
Absolutely not the bench.
And, I'm not going to change much maybe. I got San Antonio at the 1 spot, Houston at the 2 spot, Memphis at the 3 spot, and that 4 and 5 spot between New Orleans and Dallas is a toss-up. It's about 50-50 but I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to go with the N.O. Pelicans at the number 4 and the Dallas. The Nope at the 4 and the Dim at the 5.
Alright, so from there, let's move on to the Northwest Division, which involves teams like the Denver Nuggets.
Ooh, the Denver Nuggets. Is there an imposter in that division?
The Minnesota Timberwolves, the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Portland Trailblazers, and the Utah Jazz. And let's start things off with the Oklahoma City Thunder out there, which is not much to say. Russell Westbrook did come back and is still performing exceptionally, and I really can't think of anything to say about them because it's just the same team.
They're kind of like Miami.
Yeah.
A very good team, a very young team. You expect at least a Western Conference Finals appearance out of them now that Russell Westbrook is back, and hopefully his injuries don't hobble him from here on out. And so you should at least expect an Western Conference Finals out of them.
And then after that, let's just move on from them. The only thing I have to say is that they did lose Kevin Martin as a 6-man role, which just means Jeremy Lamb is going to have to step up into that 6-man role. From there, we're going to move on to the Denver Nuggets, and they are a big man team. If you look this offseason, they signed J.J. Hickson, who came over from Portland last year and is a double-double machine. But he has to come in off the bench now. They have 3 starting big men, Kenneth Faried, JaVale McGee, and I believe Darrell Arthur was starting at the 3 right now. With Gallinari is injured. He will come back later on. He tore his ACL, I believe. Also, they have
Wilson Chandler,
who was injured last I checked. Might have been back now.
Yeah.
Also, of course, Ty Lawson, and is Randy Foye there?
Yes.
Randy Foye is in Denver.
A little bit of a different team than what they had last year. A very good team, in my opinion. We got
a phone call here.
We got a caller on the line, people. I'm just kidding. Just ignore that. It's unprofessional of us.
I gotta answer that.
Oh, you should answer that. Alright, anyways, I'm going to take Max's seat, but pretty much Denver, they had Iggy last year, a very good team. The previous year, or last year, as I may say, they lost to Iggy in the offseason. He decided to opt out, go to Golden State, mainly because of 3-point shooting. There wasn't much of an outside game there. So he went to the best 3-point shooting team in the NBA. So, with that being said, Max is back now, and I'll have to take his spot. So,
sorry about that, guys. That was a little unprofessional.
No, it's fine. No one cares. Anyways, the main point is that Denver, they don't look as good as what they had in years past, or last year in particular. They had a really good team last year with Iggy there especially.
Mm-hmm.
And who else was there?
They had Kenneth Reed, a healthy, full-time Kenneth Reed, who is now just coming in off an injury.
Yeah, and also JaVale McGee. The thing is he going to step up and be that?
Is he going to have a high basketball IQ this year, or is he still going to be?
Or is it going to be the JaVale McGee everyone knows and love, which is
the Shaqtin' a Fool?
Yeah. So hopefully, I am a supporter of JaVale McGee.
I like to see him succeed, but he's a very good, talented player if he can be smart.
Yeah. So moving on from them, let's go to the T-Wolves.
The Minnesota Timberwolves. I like them. They're a surprise team.
Yes.
Kevin Love leads that charge. Is a very good player. Also, Ricky Rubio is a dimer. That he doesn't do much else. He just knows how to get dimes, which is you need that.
Yeah, pretty much. Yep. He is a pass first point guard, I will say, but he's easily able to do some fantastic. He's a very good finisher as well.
Mm-hmm.
Very good around the rim when he's on the drive.
Also, Kevin Martin came from Oklahoma City to Minnesota and is now assuming a starting role.
Which he is doing a fantastic job, by the way.
Absolutely.
Averaging, I believe, 20 points a game as of right now.
He is their second option behind
Kevin Love.
Kevin Love, of course, but that's a solid second option. I would take that.
Yeah, I would take that. I mean, I think the problem was with him in Oklahoma City, he wasn't really called for be a main option for him. I don't think the 6-man role fitted him very well. I think he needed to be a starter, but they went with Stephalosha for some reason.
They always go to Stephalosha because they opt for defense in that case.
Which is James Harden had good defense. I don't understand why they didn't start him.
But they just didn't want to sign him that big max contract that he was desiring.
They should have. They don't need Kendrick Perkins or Ibaka. Just move Kevin Durant to the 4 spot. Be the Miami Heat.
And then also in Minnesota they have Corey Brewer at 3, who is a solid player, but wouldn't be one of the top options. And then also at the 5 they have Nikola Pekovic.
A very good, Pekovic, I believe, a very good offensive rebounder.
Great rebounder.
He scored the ball, but he doesn't. They're not really calling for him to score this year. So, and obviously now that they have Kevin Martin there, his role as shooting is going to be down a bit. The T-Wolves have a very good chance of making the playoffs if they keep this up. A very good team. There's not much to say. Their only issue is small forward, pretty much. I don't know who else they would put in that spot. I don't know their bench very well.
If they still had AK-47, that would probably help them out.
Yeah, but he opted to sign with Brooklyn for some bizarre reason. But anyways, they have a very good shot at making the playoffs. If they can stay healthy, we all know about Kevin Love's
Rubio's ACL.
Yeah.
Kevin Martin's getting up there in years, and he's had some injury problems in the past. And
so,
Brewer, if you have to rely on Brewer, he's not a scorer.
Yeah, so pretty much it's just a matter if they can stay healthy or not.
And then after that, we're going to move on to the Portland Trailblazers, one of my favorite teams.
Trailblazers, yeah.
Which, of course, they have Damian Lillard, the rookie sensation last year, coming in as a sophomore season, and is already doing very well.
Yes.
And of course, they have him and LaMarcus Aldridge, that dynamic duo, both scoring a majority of the points every night. Alongside them, they have Wes Matthews, who is a great outside option, and Nicholas Batum, who just got a triple-double the other night, and is a solid performer all around. But then their starting center is Robin Lopez, and after that, their bench starts to get weaker. Their only bench production is really Mo Williams as the backup point for two.
Well, what about C.J. McCollum?
He's injured right now.
That's probably why. I don't pay attention to the Portland Trail Blazers. But you pretty much got it right on. Very good starting four. By that I mean point guard is power forward. Then when you get to that fifth spot, Robin Lopez, he's a nice spot to fill in there.
He's a good position. He played well in New Orleans last year, but I would not put him as a top center.
Yeah. Their bench, you said it, Mo Williams, a very good signing, by the way. A very good. If C.J. McCollum wasn't injured, they'd have a very good bench. A very good backcourt bench. They got Thomas Robinson, his third team in a few years, since his becoming an NBA player. Went from Sacramento to the Rockets, and now he's on the Trailblazers. I'm a fan of Thomas Robinson. I really hope that he'll be able to find a team, maybe, because he wants to prove everyone that he is worth that fifth pick that they took him, because a lot of the attention has been given to him because maybe he wasn't worth that fifth pick since he's got traded twice. But I don't really blame it on him. I just feel like both the two teams he played for still have better options for him.
Sometimes you just have to be put in the right position for you to succeed.
Yeah, and hopefully his playing behind LaMarcus Aldridge, one of the best power forwards in the NBA, can help him with that. And who knows, maybe he could take the realm if LaMarcus Aldridge leaves or if it's time to swap roles.
Right. Maybe even if he becomes better, put Aldridge at 5.
Yeah, they could do that as well. Aldridge is tall enough and he can certainly... He's got the vertical. He's got the vertical, but his defense is maybe not suited for the 5.
He may just need to put on
a few more pounds, maybe.
Like 15, 20 more pounds of muscle, and then...
I mean, if Paul George can do it, anyone can do it.
Right. And then finally in that division we have the Utah Jazz, which there's not much to say about this team. They're just weak. Besides for maybe, if you get a healthy Trey Burke, he's going to be good. You have the up-and-coming big men for them, Derek Favors and Enes Kanter.
I believe this is a breakout year, maybe the most improved player if you look on statistics alone. He showed last year, if he was a starter last year, he'd be pretty much averaging a little less than what he is right now. He's averaging 18 points and 10 rebounds a game. Very good for only his first year as a starting center. So, he's not going to bring you much defensively, but offensively, and rebounding-wise, he's going to be a very good option for you. Gordon Hayward is still a small forward on that team, I believe. They still use him at that option. I'm a big Butler fan, so I love Gordon Hayward, the half-court shot.
You got that down.
That's like the one shot I can do hit it spot on every time.
The just miss.
Just miss. But Gordon Hayward could be a fantastic NBA player if he was a shooting guard. I don't think he needs to be.
They do put him at the 2, I know.
They do, but Alec Burks is there right now, and I believe that's the main issue.
Yeah, Alec Burks. Yeah. So Alec Burks, by the way, is doing very well.
Yeah, very well. Gordon Hayward is leading the Jazz in scoring as of right now. But
Alec Burks is right there.
Alec Burks is right there, and so is Kanter. So Gordon Hayward could be a fantastic player, but I just don't think he's in the right role and maybe not on the right team because he has shown he's a very good scorer. I believe he just needs to work on his mechanics and his defense. I believe he could be a fantastic player in this league because he's shown in the past 2 years that he can do it.
Alright, so let's go through projected Northwest Division. I have at the top spot the Oklahoma City Thunder. I don't think there's any doubt about that. They're a step above everyone else there. Behind them, I have the Denver Nuggets, followed surprisingly by the Portland Trail Blazers. I do believe they can come out and come in the third spot there in that division, followed by the Minnesota Timberwolves and Utah Jazz, which, by the way, real quick, Robbie Hummel is on the Minnesota Timberwolves squad, represent Indiana, even though it's Purdue.
I know. Okay. Oh, well. 2 torn ACLs, you can't expect too much out of the guy. But OKC is on top. You can't change that up. They're going to be number 1 in there this year. This is going to be a little bit of a bold prediction, but I think the T-Wolves are going to take that 2 spot this year.
Oh, really?
Over
the Nuggets?
Over the Nuggets. Actually, I have Portland at the 3 as well. I don't like this Nuggets team.
That's true, yeah.
They have a lot of big men, but I believe it's going to become an issue later on of who gets what playing time. It's a weird rotation as of right now. And we don't know how Gallinari and Chandler are going to mesh. They did pretty well last year as like their 3 options, but we don't know how Gallinari is going to do once he gets back. Randy Foye, I was never high on him, even when he was a Clipper. I don't look at him as a commodity at all. Ty Lawson is about as good as it gets, pretty much.
He's their top option there.
And they also have a little bit of Nate Washington, I believe.
Nate Robinson.
Robinson, my bad. I don't know why I said Nate Washington, not the running back.
Not the NFL player.
Yeah, not the NFL player. I meant the
wrong sport.
Wrong sport. That's my fault. But he is undoubtedly one of the. If he played if he was like 6'5", I think Nate Robinson would easily be one of the better players in the NBA. I just think he's a small body. Just was just an issue for him.
And then of course you got the Jazz at 5.
Oh, you sure about the Jazz at 5? Unfortunately, you're a
Cantor fan.
I'm a Cantor fan mainly because he's on my fantasy team. But I do like Gordon Hayward. I want to see good things out of him.
And finally, our last division here in the West is the Pacific Division, which consists of the Golden State Warriors, the LA Clippers, the LA Lakers, the Sacramento Kings, and then the Phoenix Suns. And in this division, you have really, once again, 2 great teams. Then you kind of have the Lakers there that just on the bubble with Kobe out for right now. And then you have Phoenix and Sacramento, which surprisingly Phoenix has done well right now, but it's kind of short-lived. It's kind of short-lived.
It's kind of like the 76ers.
Right. And then the Warriors, they just signed Iguodala. They have Klay Thompson. They have Steph Curry. David Lee, Andrew Bogut's improved and healthy. They have off the bench Harrison Barnes, Draymond Green. You could even put in Ezeli, that they drafted last year. He's a decent backup.
Yeah, he played very well last year when they needed him to play.
I like this Warriors team. I really believe they have one of the best teams I've ever seen.
Oh yeah, yeah. This is one of the better Warriors teams they've had since they've won championships back in before we were born.
Right.
So we can't really speak much about that. But they have the Splash Brothers, a bit of that Klay Thompson, Stephen Curry. They got Iggy starting at 3. Harrison Barnes, they have one of the best benches. I just realized they have a very good bench. They have Harrison Barnes coming off the bench.
Tony Douglas at that point is very underrated.
Very underrated. He's kind of like a Kyle Lowry, because to me, he's very underrated. Tony Douglas is in that same role. I believe he's underrated. They honestly have a very good team. One of the better teams in the West right now, and they could even though OKC is the favorite, and OKC and San Antonio are the 2 favorites to win, maybe Golden State could be able to knock one of them off.
Golden State could knock at least one, if not both of them off.
It just depends on if they could keep their shooting very well against a very
if they don't rely on Steph too much. Yeah. That's been the problem.
And also they got David Lee. He's been playing probably pretty well since he's been.
I don't know, one of our friends, Bailey's one of his favorite players.
Oh, yeah.
High on him there.
And then you also have Andrew Bogut, Andrew Bogut is one of the most injury problems when it comes to his hands. I say that loosely because he always injures his hands. He injured his hand on a dunk before. He's injured knees, ankles. He's one of the most injury-prone people in the NBA. But when he plays at a very high level, very high-intensity type of player. He is a very good fit for this Golden State team when he's healthy. He can score the ball, he can play defense, get some rebounds. It just depends on how they want to use him and if he can stay healthy. That really determines how their front court is going to look like this year. Because when he's out, you're asking Ezeli to step up. And as much as I like the guy, he's not an NBA starter. He's not going to do as well as maybe Andrew Bogut does. So moving on from that, we got the LA Lakers.
The Los Angeles Lakers. Kobe-less Lakers.
The Kobe-less.
Which they have Jody Meeks and Nick Young. Both of them, I believe Nick Young came over or used to play for the 76ers. Yes. Maybe not.
Yes, he did.
He did. But they both were former 76ers. Nick Young most recently played in Washington, I believe.
No, he played for the 76ers.
Okay. I'm wrong. He played for the 76ers most recently. Yeah. He has played on the Wizards.
Yeah.
But
he went from Wizards, Clippers, 76ers, the Lakers.
Alright. So they both come over. They're both assuming starting roles for probably the first time in their careers, because Jody Meeks has to take Kobe's spot right now.
And Nick Young's playing small forwards.
Right.
Nick Young did start a little bit when he played for the Clippers in Washington. It's just it's a bit of what you believe in. That was a couple years ago, but I recall him starting a few times, especially when Chauncey Billups went out for the Clippers. So the Clippers, it's pretty much the same Clippers team.
Lakers.
Oh,
wrong LA team.
I don't know why. Oh yeah, I was on the Clippers sharing page. But Lakers lost Dwight Howard. They got Chris Kaman though.
That's a solid start, but I would not put him.
That was more of a we need a center. Here, Chris, you want to play for us?
Right.
Sure, I'll play, but
and then they also have Steve Nash, who's getting up there in years. You can't rely on him.
Yeah, and he hasn't been doing good at all since the Lakers. He's been a Laker. Paul Gasol is also getting up there in age as well, and
they have to rely on him.
They have to rely on him too much, especially with Kobe Bryant out. So a Lakers, a team that maybe can make the playoffs, but
they're probably
It's a weird year for them.
Next off, we have sticking in LA. We're gonna go with the Clippers.
Oh, the team I actually talked about earlier.
Yeah, your favorite, one of your top teams that you like.
Yeah, I've always liked the Clippers. The Clippers is a weird team, mainly because the issue with the Clippers is they got a good offense, but they don't have like the best defense.
Mm-hmm.
It's an average defense pretty much, and pretty much by that, Chris Paul, one of the best point guard defenders in the league. DeAndre Jordan, a very solid center defensively. Offensively, I believe he's working on his offensive game. He's getting better at that. Blake Griffin, he's been working on his shot more than his defense. Defense, he doesn't have that wide wingspan, so it's easy for power forwards, at least very good, fast power forwards to get around him. So that's always been an issue for him. And Blake Griffin has been the issue with him. Everyone just looks at him, oh, it's just Lob City. But Doc Rivers has especially said this year, they're not Lob City anymore.
Lob City's dead, according to Rivers.
It's dead. But they have been taking advantage of the Lob City still, mainly because
they're athletic. They're athletic. Stop doing
you can't do what you're good at. Chris Paul's one of the best precision passers in the NBA as well.
Absolutely.
And since the year start, since they've lost to the Lakers on opening night, they've been playing exceptionally well. Chris Paul averaging fantastic numbers.
The Clippers and the Warriors matched up the other night, and it was a battle between the two that the Clippers came out on top.
Clippers came over on top. That was a shooting brigade. Clippers also demolished the Rockets defense, scored 78 and 1/2 against a Rockets team with the pick of Dwight Howard. Many thought that they'd be a very good defensive team, but there's still many holes in the Rockets.
Yes.
So the main question for the Clippers is, with the additions of J.J. Redick and a few others at the shooting guard spot and the backup point guard spot, with Eric Bledsoe leaving, Darren Collison, how are they going to do when it comes to playoff time? Because the past 2 years, they've done good in the playoffs, but they really haven't done very well after the first round.
They'll always do well in the season the past couple of years, and then just falter in the playoffs.
Yeah, so
they did beat the Memphis Grizzlies, which was stupid a couple years ago.
Yeah, but they got
last year they got
round.
swept by
They won a game.
They won a game and got lost 4 in a row to the Grizzlies. So the Grizzlies got their revenge.
Yeah. So the Clippers, it's a weird situation. Hopefully with a new coach, one of the better coaches in the NBA.
One of the best coaches.
Yeah, one of the best coaches. So it's a weird team now. It's the same team. It's gonna be weird to see how Doc Rivers, a defensive-minded coach, takes that into effect from here on out.
Then let's move on from there. Go over to the Phoenix Suns, and they've been one of the biggest surprises this year. Miles Plumlee coming over from Indiana, assuming a starting role once they traded Marcin Gortat. First 2 games, got a double-double. Got believe, an 18-12, and then 13-13. So he jumped right in and played very well. And then also in their starting lineup, they have, I believe, Marcus Morris. They have both brothers there, both the Morris twins there. And Morris, both of them can shoot the 3, all playing the 4, which is tough to defend against when you have a spread-out offense like that. You have P.J. Tucker, I believe, starting at the 3, and
I believe that's because Gerald Green is he's injured right now, so I don't know what they plan on doing.
So Gerald Green, P.J. Tucker, they're both kind of.
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing yet with that.
Either way, they're both complete.
And by the way, this isn't the weird the weird thing about their team yet, and you'll probably explain it here in a second.
But they're both talented.
Yeah.
3s. Gerald Green shoots a little bit too much. We learned that from Indiana last year. But when he's on, he's on. P.J. Tucker can shoot the ball with a dagger.
Yes.
And then you have, starting at the 2, is Eric Bledsoe and Goran Dragic at the 1. Dragic's one of the best passers in the NBA.
Yeah.
Bledsoe's
a rising star.
Exactly.
They're going with the 2-point guard system, if you haven't noticed yet. One of the only teams to do it, if not the only team. So it's a weird situation. They've mentioned that they are looking to trade Dragic because they are restarting that whole thing. Like you said, they got rid of Gortat. They have a lot of first-round picks for the upcoming year. And the phone is ringing again. You want to go get that, Max?
Nah, that's fine.
Okay, so pretty much it's a weird situation in Phoenix. We don't want to expect them to do too well. But I believe they can still do good. They have Okafor now. Whenever he comes back from his injuries, we'll see how he'll fit into that system. But, Dragic is injured right now. So it's a weird team because they're a little injured. But I do believe that they could show some light this year. Who knows? They have a lot of fixes upcoming draft. So I believe this isn't the Phoenix team that we're going to see next year. So this is a bit of what I'm going to call, I don't want to say transitional, but it's going to be a team that's going to be, half of them are not going to be there next year. It's pretty much what I'm going to look at it as.
Absolutely. And then one of the most surprising things about this team is that they jumped off to a hot start. They had a winning record last time we checked. And that's kind of surprising with this team.
A lot like Philadelphia, especially Miles Plumlee. He didn't even play.
He only played a couple minutes just because
they needed
garbage time.
Yeah, garbage time, and he did terrible. Every time Miles Plumlee touched the ball, I'm like, okay, you could give it to Tyler Hansbrough in this situation. I'm cool with that. As much as I hate Tyler Hansbrough because he is not that good of a basketball player, Miles Plumlee is kind of in the same situation. I didn't like him too much as well.
And then finally in this division, we have the Sacramento Kings.
The Kings.
Shaq just took a bit of an ownership role in this.
Surprisingly.
Yeah, after he called them the Sacramento Queens a couple years
Woo!
ago. And then in this team, they just got rid of Tyreek Evans. Then they have DeMarcus Cousins, and that's about it. They
DeMarcus
have
Cousins.
Isaiah Thomas, but I'm not going to trust him.
And they have Vasquez as well.
They just picked up Vasquez.
Vasquez showed last year on New Orleans. He could be a very good point guard, a passing point guard. Like you said, they have Marcus Thornton. It's a weird team. They have the Jimmer range, Jimmer Fredette.
You're not going to trust him.
Yeah, you really can't trust him. It's unfortunate. As much as everyone fell in love with him a few years ago when he played at BYU in college, he hasn't been able to transition to the NBA as well. They did pick up. Who did they draft this year?
I can't tell you, honestly.
Yeah, they drafted a shooting guard or a small
Oh, wait, Ben McLemore.
They drafted Ben McLemore.
I don't know why that slipped my mind, but it did.
Yeah, Ben McLemore, it slipped my mind too. Ben McLemore, he's a fantastic scorer.
He's not doing very well in the NBA right now. He's not transitioned very well.
Well, maybe for some people it takes no time at all. Sometimes others it takes a while. So it just depends on who you get.
I mean, look at Bradley Beal last year. He didn't start off high. Gradually had to start picking it up because John Wall was out.
Yes, so it's just a weird thing. It's whatever works pretty much.
So let's get the projections down for this division. In this division, I have the top team being the Golden State Warriors, followed by your LA Clippers. Then I do have the LA Lakers and the Sacramento Kings, and surprisingly, Phoenix Suns behind the Kings. I just don't trust them to keep it hot.
Yeah, see, I'm going to not change it at all. I'm going to go Golden State, Clippers, Lakers, Sacramento, and the Phoenix Suns. So, not much for me to change.
So, with this, we're going to move on, and we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, but we're going to go ahead and try and predict an NBA playoff scenario. And in the East, this is what I believe will happen. At the 1 seed, I can't go against Miami Heat. I do believe the Heat will be the top seed.
Yes.
Top seed. After that, I do have the Pacers at number 2. Then the Chicago Bulls at number 3. That could be subject to change with Derrick Rose slumping right now. New York Knicks, I do have at number 4. And then right behind them would be the Brooklyn Nets, which that'd be fun to watch.
Yeah.
New York in the playoffs there. After that, surprisingly, the Toronto Raptors. I think Rudy Gay can take them to the next level and make them a playoff team, though they probably won't get past the first round against the Bulls. The 7th seed, I do have the Cleveland Cavaliers, because once again, I believe Kyrie Irving can take control of that team, make them a playoff team, and get them there. Just barely. And surprisingly, I have the Washington Wizards at 8. Once again, John Wall's leading that team with Bradley Beal is a great option. And then, once more, they have Bartot, and then right now, hot Trevor Ariza.
Yes. Well, since Max had a list for this, I'm just gonna come on
off the top of your head right now.
Yes. I'm gonna not much to really change from what you got. Miami's gonna be number 1 for me as well. Screw it. I'm gonna go with the Pacers at 1. Actually, I think the Pacers will have a better record. I'm just going with what I see so far. Miami hasn't been too impressive. Pacers hot start. I believe they could keep that up the entire year. They're showing it that they play better in the second half.
Lane Stevenson said he wants them to start off
10-0, which the way they look, and even though they're playing Toronto,
they have trouble against Toronto. Yeah.
If they get past Toronto, I don't think they should have any issues. They'll have issues, but I believe it will be easy for them to go 10-0.
I think they could.
They could.
Make that.
That's number one. Number two, I'm going to go with Miami. That's going to be interesting later on. Number three, I'm going to go with Chicago. 4, I'm going to go with Brooklyn, and 5, I'm going to go with the Knicks. So a
little bit of switch up there.
A little bit of switch up there.
But those top 5 are the top 5 teams. You can't go against them.
Yeah, pretty much it's the top 5, and then a couple teams. You know, you can play.
You got some bubble teams.
Bubble teams, and after that. So number 6, I'm going to go. Number 6, I'm going to go with the Cleveland Cavaliers. I believe they have a good enough team to get in that 6th spot this year. If Kyrie Irving and
if Bynum can come back.
If Bynum can come back, which this is it. This is if he comes back healthy. They could be a 6th seed easily. Number 7, I'm going to go with the Wizards. They haven't been playing well, but I believe they will catch on eventually. And then number 8, I'm going to go with. I'm going to go Toronto at 8 because I don't see any of the teams I didn't want to see in the playoffs right now. So Toronto at 8. So that's Drew White's Eastern Conference.
And I will say, though, really the only teams that you could leave out that are possible entries into the East are really just the Detroit Pistons. I left them at 9. I know a lot of people have them taken about 8 or 7, but I just don't think they can make it with that. Too many new people there.
Too many new people. It's going to take a while.
Move, Brandon Jennings. Monroe and Drummond are starting together. That's a new cooperation.
Yeah, it's pretty much. It's gonna take. It's kind of. It's my bad. But it's one of those things. If you believe they're gonna mesh well from the beginning, or if it's gonna be maybe the Lakers project from last year, maybe the Miami Heat project when LeBron came there for the first time. They didn't really mesh well that first year.
And also, I believe a team that can make a strong push into the playoffs would be the Orlando Magic.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't. Maybe a possible Orlando Hawks, but I don't really see them.
Yeah, those are the only other 2 teams I could see possibly making it to the playoffs.
So in the West Side, we're gonna go the San Antonio Spurs at the top spot. It's hard to go against them. Maybe the Thunder, but I have the Thunder at number 2. And in the 3 spot, I have the Warriors, and then in the 4 spot, I have the Clippers. After that, I have Houston at 5 and Memphis at 6, which Memphis is making a strong case to not make the playoffs right now. But I still think they could turn around with some stellar defense. At number 7, I have the Denver Nuggets, and at number 8, I have the Portland Trailblazers.
Okay.
Which I know you say you like Minnesota, and I may have underranked them. I have them at 11. But I think the New Orleans Pelicans at number 9 can make a strong case, too.
Yes, of course. See, mine's going to be a lot different than yours. The Western, like I said, is going to be a lot harder to predict, mainly because the Western Conference is the better conference of the 2. At number 1, instead of San Antonio, I'm going to go with OKC at the 1 spot. And then San Antonio at the 2 spot. Mainly that's just a little switcheroo. Nothing too special about that. Moving down on this number 3, I will have Golden State. A very good casing, maybe could show that they deserve to be as good as they are. They had a great playoff run last year. Maybe they can make a Western Conference final appearance. Number 4, I'm going to go with the Houston Rockets. It's a bit of a love-hate relationship. Do I think they could get to be that 4th seed? Yes. But
want them to?
Do I want them to? Not really. I'm not a Rockets fan.
I'm not either.
But it's a bit of. I think they could maybe. The Western Conference is a little bit more tricky to pick. Number 5, I'm gonna have the Clippers. 1 spot below you had them, which you had them at 4. Number 6, This is where. Hang on, I'm looking here. Number 6, I'm gonna have Minnesota.
Called it.
Well, I was thinking about them. Like you said, you had time to predict this. I didn't, so I'm just kind of looking. Maybe what I believe. Number 7, I will go with. Number 7, I'm gonna go with the Memphis Grizzlies. The Grizzlies. And then number 8, that last playoff spot, it's gonna go to, drum roll please, the Pelicans.
There you go, a young team.
I believe that they were able to surprise them as Anthony Davis has started the year off
So you did leave off Portland Trailblazers and Denver Nuggets, who I had in.
Yes, I'm not a big Denver fan.
I know.
I'm not a big Denver fan. Portland, this is a lot, like I said, it's a lot different. Portland, they have a very good foundation. I just think they need one more year.
They might need one more player.
They need one more piece to honestly, they're good enough to make the playoffs, but if they did make the playoffs, they wouldn't do much. I just think they need that one more player to make that extra push, maybe make it to a second round or maybe even the Western Conference Finals. And mainly that's the centerpiece, pretty much.
And in this playoffs, we're going deep here. We're going way deep.
Pretty much, I mean, this is going to make me look even more or less prepared.
But after this, I do have, we'll go to the finals for each. I have Eastern Conference Finals, a rematch from last year, Miami and Indiana. And then from the West, this is going to be surprising for you.
Okay.
I have Houston and Golden State in there. With Houston upsetting San Antonio, Golden State upsetting OKC. And the NBA Championship, I do have a Warriors and Pacers matchup.
Yeah.
Because I do believe this is the Pacers' year. I think they can win it all. I think they will win it all. They have Scola, who will start for about any other team at the 4. Backing us up. I mean,
that's a fantastic backup spot.
We have, I will say that Solomon Hill is going to be a good player.
He'll
be a solid player.
He's like a little bit of a Orlando Johnson. He's not going to play that much his first year, but future-wise, he will have play a lot.
He's doing decent right now. We got Lance Stevenson, who's playing exceptional. We have George Hill, once he's healthy, will play well. We have C.J. Watson, who's playing well right now. I mean, I don't trust C.J. to be a starter.
Yeah.
I barely trust him to be a backup. But we have him playing well. We have Donald Sloan as our third spot playing exceptional as a third back, as a third man.
Very well. Especially last night, he was showing it very well last night.
The only thing I think we may need to have help is our backup 5, because Mahimi did get injured, and we do need to stop playing Paul George so many minutes because he doesn't sit out the second half.
Alright, so can I go now?
Go for it.
Okay, well, my Eastern Conference Finals, I haven't decided what I want for what I see yet because I haven't really gotten this far. Eastern Conference, it's easy. I'm gonna go with Pacers and the Heat. It's gonna go down to 7 games again. But if you noticed earlier, I did have the Pacers over the Heat, so the Pacers do have home field advantage for that last game 7. I believe that will get them over the top, and I believe they will win Game 7, make it to the playoffs. And this, I'm trying. It's very hard to make this a non-biased thing because we're both Pacers fans.
Right.
But this is a non-biased thing, in my opinion. The Pacers do have one of the best teams in the NBA this year, and they could easily vouch for an NBA Finals appearance. So, in the West, looking at it, and look at what you got, and just like imagine what I would have.
Well, just imagine, instead of Denver and Portland, you have Minnesota and I can't remember the other team.
Okay, I'm going to go with, I'm going to go with an OKC and, let's see, OKC had a 1 seed, Grizzlies, let's see, Golden State had the 3. I'm going to go with OKC and Golden State Finals. OKC will end up winning it in 6 games. They'll leave with a situation not many people would plan on seeing is the one not a lot of people can see the Pacers going to the championship game.
Right.
But a Pacers OKC Finals, and that, oh gosh,
that's a tough one.
That's a tough one. As much as I hate to do it, I would go with OKC in 7 in that one.
It would be close.
It'd be a hard fought, but you know, not seeing the Pacers being in the NBA Finals yet, not Golden State, the Thunder have had finals experience. I think that puts them over the edge experience-wise.
And real fast here, I went a little bit more than you.
Dang it. You just talk. I'm going to just imagine in my head what I got.
Okay. In this, I did do some some end-of-the-season awards. This probably going to be way off, but I just thought it'd be a good idea to do it. And this, I have the MVP for this year would be Kevin Durant. I do believe he can finally make it over that hump is LeBron James and beat him for that spot. If not, then I have a close second, probably Chris Paul, because he's playing exceptional right now. After that, I have Rookie of the Year at either Oladipo or Michael Carter Williams. MCW is making a strong case right now, almost a quadruple double against the Heat. But Victor Oladipo is playing solid minutes every night, performing just the same amount every night. It's consistent and great. And Michael Carter Williams just kind of, I don't know. He seems a little streaky. Yeah. After that, I have Defensive Player of the Year at this. It could very well change. I have Dwight Howard right now, but I couldn't really think of anyone. And right now, Roy Hibbert's making a strong case with his leadings in the
averaging 5 blocks a game.
So
fantastic job.
I'm gonna just say Roy Hibbert's gonna get that.
Yeah.
And even in the MVP, this is biased, but Paul George does make a strong case right now. I see him in the top 5 for that running.
And by the way, I'm just letting people know, the MVP, it's most valuable player, which pretty much means the guy who means the most for that team. It's not the best player in the league, even though LeBron James has won the past 3 years. It's whoever brings the most, contributes the most, who is the biggest part of their team. And it's hard to argue against LeBron being the biggest part of the Heat, but right. I will agree with you. I don't think he's going to win MVP this year.
After that, most improved player, I do have Anthony Davis after that risky year last year. And then finally, I have 2 more. I do believe Mark Jackson for the Golden State Warriors will get Coach of the Year. I don't believe it'll be Frank Vogel, Eric Spoelstra, George Karl's is not even coaching anymore, is he?
Yeah, no, but Brian Shaw took over.
Right, Brian Shaw took over. So I just think Mark Jackson will take Golden State. I think he will do a great job with them this year, and will give Coach of the Year award. And finally, the 6th man. This one's a tough one to predict.
Yeah.
But I do think Reggie Jackson over in OKC will back up Westbrook well and will win 6th man of the year. If not, you always have Jamal Crawford, who's always makes a strong case for that over in LAC.
Well, that's very fine picks by you.
Thank you.
So for the MVP, I'm going to go with Kevin Durant as well. Paul George is putting a strong case in. Maybe Chris Paul to enter that conversation as well if he keeps on playing at the level. If he plays at the level he's playing at now, he's going to win MVP, no doubt. Mm-hmm. But I highly doubt he's going to keep that level and that intensity all year, so I can't really go with that. Rookie of the Year, it's really hard to go against Victor Oladipo because there's not many of the rookies starting right now.
Well, he's not even starting. He's just
I know. He comes off the bench, but he plays almost starter minutes in that 6-man role, and I believe he will be a starter by the end of the year as well. So, and if he doesn't, if he doesn't, then he'd easily be the 6th man of the year. But I believe he'll take in that starting role eventually. Defensive Player of the Year, Roy Hibbert is my pick, mainly especially after the performance he showed last night. He showed that he's the best defensive player in the league without a doubt. The most improved player. You went Anthony Davis, a very good pick, but I think it's going to be Lance Stevenson. I believe Lance Stevenson is going to start this year. Danny Granger is going to come in off the bench for the Pacers once he returns. I believe, especially with what he's shown since the year started, I believe that Lance Stevenson easily deserves that most improved player.
So we're going to go from Paul George to Lance Stevenson as well.
Yeah, so pretty much we'll have 3 people on our team if Danny Granger stays with us who have won the most improved player, because Danny Granger has won it back in 2008. Around that time.
07, 08, yeah.
07, 08. Coach of the Year, I'm trying to think of who could be Coach of the Year, because if Coach of the Year is pretty much you...
It makes a drastic change for the team.
A drastic change, and most of the time they go by how many games you win. That's a big contributor to that. So pretty much off the... And, if you go from, like, a 15th to, like, 8th, they don't really consider that. Like 15, they don't conference rank. They don't consider that important. It's pretty much that playoff thing. Shoot, I'm trying to go with someone who's good for the T-Wolves.
The coach, Rick Adelman.
Yeah, I think it's going to be him.
Rick Adelman for the Timberwolves.
Rick Adelman, people, mark that down. And then for the 6th man award, I'm going to go with Patrick Beverly.
He starts right now, though.
Yeah, but I'm going to...
You're just going to go for it.
I'm just going to go for it. Well, except I don't want to go with Reggie Jackson. I don't want to go with J.R. Smith. I don't want to go with Jamal Crawford.
You just want to be different.
I want to be different. Maybe Mo Williams. I can see Mo Williams. Maybe. If Danny Granger comes back performs well, maybe
Luis
Scola, if he plays at the level he's playing at now, he's a good contender. Maybe AK-47. It's just weird. 6 man is really hard to predict.
6 man is tough.
Yeah. Actually, I'm gonna change. I'm gonna go with Scola. I'll go Scola.
You go Scola.
I'll go Scola.
Go a little bit Pacers on this.
I try not to, but Scola, that's good. Yeah.
Alright, well, that's our show for today. We did our NBA projections about a week late, but it's all good because, I mean, it's still early enough to predict. It's still very much anyone's season, and just keep watching our show. Keep watching the NBA season. We'll be back next week. So for the Max and Drew show, I'm Max Holtzclaw.
And I'm Drew White. And before Max takes us off, I am going to say something. Leave your comments below of who you think will have a good year this year. Maybe give some player of the year. Maybe talk about those category winners. Maybe think who you think is going to go to the NBA championship and who you think is going to win. So leave us your comments. You know, if you like the video, like it. You know, if you like me over Max, and subscribe to us. But if you like Max over me, then you can still subscribe. I don't see any hate with that. But you do whatever you want, peoples. And yeah, I'm Drew White.
I'm Max Holtzclaw. Good night, everyone.